Welcome, family. We welcome you to Hebrew Readers Church. We hope that this is some people's first time checking in with us, and we hope that you enjoy the lesson. This is definitely for biblical edification. And to all our family, we hope you're enjoying the feast. We are going into the Feast of First Fruits today, and we hope everybody is just on board and everybody just enjoying the day with their family. It is a great day for celebrating, and we are going to go into the understanding of the feast so that everybody can understand. We do want to put out a special prayer. We know that it's been tough for a lot of people. In the times that we're in, the evil demonic forces are picking up, and we definitely want to just put out a prayer, and we have been praying for everyone. We hope everyone's been praying for us to keep us in your prayers and keep us in the light of Yache Christ. And everybody just continue to stay in the fight and just be strengthened by the Spirit. Even if you're going through whatever you're going through, just keep on pushing and persevering. And Lord willing, He just pull us all out. So with that said, Brother Costa, you got anything before we get going?
That was good. Praise Yache. All right. Ready to get into the understanding of the first fruits. This feast was instituted in the days of Noah after the flood. Can we look at Genesis chapter 8, verse 1 to 4, verse 14 through 18, please?
Genesis chapter 8, verse 1. And Alahayim remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And Alahayim made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. And the waters returned from off the earth continually. And after the end of the 150 days, the waters were abated. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. And in the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, was the earth dried.
So there we see the events of the flood, just summarizing it. Continue verse 15 to 18, please.
All right, I jumped from Genesis 8 and 4 to 8 and 14 for everybody who's following along. I'm at Genesis 8 and 15. And Alahayim spake unto Noah, saying, Go forth of the ark, thou and thy wife, and thy sons, and thy sons' sons, and thy sons' wives with thee. Bring forth with thee every living thing that is with thee, of all flesh, both of fowl and of cattle, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful, and multiply upon the earth. And Noah went forth, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him.
All right, so they left out from the ark. Now we're going to jump into the book of Jubilees. Can you go into Jubilees chapter 6, verse 1 to 2, and then verse 4, and then verse 15 to 19, please?
Jubilees chapter 6, verse 1. And on the new moon of the 3rd month, he went forth from the ark, and built an altar on that mountain. And he made atonement for the earth, and took a kid and made atonement by its blood for all the guilt of the earth. For everything that had been on it had been destroyed, save those that were in the ark with Noah.
So there we see in the 3rd month, Noah built an altar and made an atonement in the mountains of Ararat. All right, continuing to verse 4, please.
And Ahayah smelt the goodly savor, And he made a covenant with him that there should not be any more a flood to destroy the earth, that all the days of the earth, seed time and harvest should never cease, cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night should not change their order, nor cease forever.
The covenant was not to destroy the earth by flood again. Continue Jubilees chapter 6, verse 15 to 19.
He gave to Noah and his sons a sign that there should not again be a flood on the earth. And he sent his bow in the cloud for a sign of the eternal covenant, that there should not again be a flood on the earth to destroy it all the days of the earth. For this reason it is ordained and written on the heavenly tables that they should celebrate the Feast of Weeks in this month once a year, to renew the covenant every year.
This feast is a renewal of that covenant of not destroying the earth by the flood again. So this is what we're celebrating today and remembering. Continue to verse 18, please.
And this whole festival was celebrated in heaven from the day of creation to the days of Noah, 33 jubilees and 1 week of years.
We see that just the feast was revealed to Noah after the flood, but this feast was celebrated from the beginning. All right, so we're getting in touch and getting aligned with the heavenly things by keeping this feast today. Continue, please.
And Noah and his sons observed it for 7 jubilees and 1 week of years, till the day of Noah's death. And from the day of Noah's death, his sons did away with it until the days of Abraham, and they ate blood.
Then we see the feast after Noah died, they had stopped keeping it, but Alahayim brought it back in Abraham. All right, continue, please.
But Abraham observed it, and Isaac and Jacob his children observed it up to thy days. And in thy days the children of Israel forgot it until you celebrated it anew on this mountain.
Then we see Abraham observed it, Isaac, Jacob, and Jacob's children. So the feast of first fruits is being kept even when the Israelites and Jacob went into Egypt. To know it get kept all the way up to Moses' days. And then after in Moses' time, the children of Israel had forgotten it. Yet we have Ahayah's mercy with us here to see that it had gotten celebrated anew on the mountain where Moses was. And this helps us understand that we are in the right time frame, because this discussion Moses is having transpired in the 3rd month when the feast was renewed, when Moses was up there. And we can look in Jubilees chapter 1, verse 1 and 2 to see what day it was as Moses was up there, to understand what day the Feast of First Fruits falls on. Can you read that, please?
Jubilees chapter 1, verse 1. And it came to pass in the 1st year of the exodus of the children of Israel out of Egypt, in the 3rd month, on the 16th day of the month, that Alahayim spake to Moses, saying, Come up to me on the mount, and I will give thee 2 tables of stone of the law and of the commandment, which I have written, and that thou mayest teach them.
The 16th of the 3rd month is the day of first fruits, to be observed throughout our generations. Can you read Jubilees chapter 6, verse 20 to 22, please?
And do thou command the children of Israel to observe this festival in all their generations, for a commandment unto them. 1 day in a year, in this month, they shall celebrate the festival. For it is the Feast of Weeks, and the Feast of First Fruits. This feast is twofold and of a double nature, according to what is written and engraven concerning it celebrated. For I have written in the book of the first law, and that which I have written for thee, that thou shouldest observe it in the season, 1 day in the year, and I explain to thee its sacrifices, that the children of Israel should remember and should celebrate it throughout their generations in this month, 1 day in every year.
So this is where we get the understanding through precepts that the Feast of First Fruits is on the 16th of the 3rd month, according to the Hebrew calendar, which is today. And This is why we're celebrating it. The feast will be complete tonight when the night comes. Now, Ahayah had spoken of the sacrifices that pertain to the feast. These sacrifices are explained in Leviticus chapter 23, verse 16 to 20, and Numbers chapter 28, verse 26 to 30. Now, we through faith in the sacrifice of Christ are not under the law of animal sacrifice, because the body is of Christ's sacrifice. So people baptized in the name of Yache just do the Lord's sacrifice known as communion, rather than these animal sacrifices that we're unable to perform in these times, seen as though the temple was destroyed and the sons of Aaron are not there to minister in Jerusalem. Can you read Colossians chapter 2, verse 16, please?
Let no man therefore judge you in meat, or in drink, or in respect of an holy day, or of the new moon, or of the Sabbath days.
So through Christ, no man can judge another for not doing the animal sacrifices in respect of the holy days. And because these sacrifices were, can you read Hebrews 9 and 9?
Which were the figure for the time then present, in which were offered both gifts and sacrifices that could not make him that did this service perfect, as pertaining to the conscience.
So those sacrifices couldn't make us perfect, and they are a shadow of things to come. Can you read Colossians chapter 2, verse 17, please?
Which are a shadow of the things to come, but the body is of Christ.
Those sacrifices are going to come back in the kingdom of Christ, but the body here is of Christ's sacrifice, and don't have to observe the sacrifices of animals because they cannot make us perfect. Can you read Hebrews chapter 10, verse 9, please?
For the law, having a shadow of good things to come, and not the very image of the things, can never with those sacrifices which they offer year by year continually make the comers thereunto perfect.
Yet we still observe the commands of the feast because through faith we establish the law. Can you read Romans chapter 3, verse 31, please?
Do we then make void the law through faith? Alahayim forbid. Yea, we establish the law.
So in observance of the feast, as it is written, 50 days from the sheaf offering, we proclaim the feast of first fruits. Can you read Leviticus 23, verse 21, please?
And ye shall proclaim on the selfsame day, that it may be an holy convocation unto you. Ye shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations.
This statute is forever and is throughout all our dwellings. So wherever we are, we keep the feast. We can't do any servile work, but it's a holy convocation, so we can do the work that pertains to our eating. Can you read Exodus 12 and 16, please?
And in the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and in the seventh day there shall be a holy convocation unto you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you.
No servile work means take time off from work if you can, and if not, abide in patience and pray Ahayah provided opportunity for you to keep the feast entirely. And be thankful at least he brought the feast to remembrance and rejoice in our heart in the midst of it all. Also, in no servile work, it's not a day to be doing work outside of the things pertaining to our eating, like food prep, cooking and cleaning the cooking and dining areas. And feast days are days for rejoicing. So we have evidence that the feast is on the 16th of the third month. Abraham also kept the feast in the middle of the month, and that falls on the 16th because the third month, according to the book of Enoch, has 31 days to help us know that we are at the right time of the feast. Can you read Jubilee chapter 15, verse 1, please?
And in the 7th year of the 7th week of this Jubilee, in the 3rd month, in the middle of the month, Abraham celebrated the feast of first fruits of the grain harvest.
So there we have the simplicity of understanding the feast and knowing when the feast is so that we may do it at its appointed time and be aligned with Ahayah, our Alahayim. All right, enjoy the feast. Anything, Brother Zachar?
I just want to clarify on Jubilees 15 and 1, just so everybody understands. It was talking about Abraham keeping the Feast of First Fruits, and it said that he kept it in the middle of the month, and that's exactly why the precept going into Jubilees, chapter 1, verse 1 and 2, talked about that in the third month, on the 16th day, was the Feast of First Fruits. So it's literally in the middle of the month, just as it spoke to Abraham in Jubilees 15 and 1, so everybody can understand.
Praise Ahayah. Thank you.
Well, all right, we hope
All right.
everybody enjoys the feast. Definitely keep everybody in your prayers. Pray for one another. Pray for the body of Christ. And let's all just continue to stick together and endure unto the end. All right?
Yeah.
All right. Everybody have a great feast day. Peace. Peace, brothers and sisters.
Peace.